In life, people will try to take from you as much as they can. That's just how life is. And they will use every strategy, being nice, being trying to bully you, trying to intimidate you, right? And what will happen generally, especially in the beginning of your life, is that you're gonna fall for it. Simply because you are naive to believe that people truly have your best self-interest in mind. Even if they're nice to you, they're nice to you to get something from you. Niceness is a strategy that they use. And young people, or even people who are very idealistic, they tend to fall for it consistently, right? They will use morality and even legal excuses to justify you being exploited. And a lot of us are conditioned by society and those who want to keep us down. We are conditioned to accept the exploitation, right? Because of all of the excuses that surrounds it. Timidity sometimes is acquired. It's not generally something that we are born with. Children, if you really observe children, children are bold by nature. If you leave a child, you'll notice that this kid will roam around and almost like there's like an assertive energy to explore everything. There's an assertive energy to find something new, to see what's different, to observe the world. And you'll notice the parents trying to control the kids, right? So you'll sense that they all have this bold, courageous nature. They have no fear because they have no context. It hasn't been put inside of them. Children have an adventurous and bold edge. It makes kids ask what they want. What like for like what that's what babies do, right? If you notice, babies are very bold. Like they'll tell you, like, hey, like I want food, right? Or even a kid will literally stare at you without fearing the consequences, right? Children have a boldness about them. They'll tell you the truth right in front of your face without caring what other people think of them, right? But as we get older, it gets shamed out of us, and we become afraid of our aggressive energy because our aggressive, bold energy most of our parents reacted to that, and most of our teachers, people who are of authority, most people react to that with tamping it down, wanting you to be more under control. And so we become afraid of our aggressive energy. And this becomes a problem, right? Because this aggressive energy should not be something that should be ashamed. It should not be something that should be put down. And when they punish our aggressive energy, what tends to happen is that the child becomes timid, something that's completely outside of its nature. We get concerned about what people think. They start telling us that our aggressive energy is a dangerous thing and that we shouldn't flaunt it in the outside world. And so we become afraid and we become defensive, concerned of what other people think. Afraid to ask for more, afraid to be bold. This energy is always there. So we suppress it and turn it against us and against others. An example of this aggressive energy is like I went to the doctors and I needed to get in a certain exam, and the people at the laboratory, they got my wrong exam, right? And I told them, look, man, I needed this exam and you guys got it wrong. Like I'm gonna have to, I want a refund, but I also want the results to those exams, right? I didn't just ask for a refund. I didn't just ask, okay, let me get the results. I wanted a refund and the results because you guys fucked up. And I just kept pushing and pushing and I was unrelenting. I want the refund and that. And the funny thing is they gave me that. You know what's funny? If I didn't ask for more, if I just asked for one thing, they would have never given me any of it. But because I just demanded refund and the money and the results by just being by just being relentless, I got it both, right? And there's even an audio about it, which is kind of funny, right? And this boldness is something that you have to work for, something you have to work on because it's just been tapped out of you. It's too threatening for polite society. But the truth is that this bold, aggressive, courageous, fearless energy is what pretty much propels you to the echelons of success. You can't not have that and succeed. It's just impossible unless you know people, right? We get concerned at what other people think. We become afraid and defensive, afraid to ask for more, afraid to be fearless. This energy is always there. So we suppress it and it turns against us and it turns against other people. So because of that, we then become shy, an unnatural part of our personality. It tells us to be afraid of failure, makes us uncomfortable of pleasure and expression of deep emotions. And and because of that, we try to tamp down our ambition, right? Because one of the things about being ambitious is learning to use strong aggressive energy. So we tamp it down. We then try to fit in than to fit out. We never develop our true uniqueness out of fear of standing out, which then creates a fake public self. And this fake self, if you hold it long enough in your mind, this mask gets fused with your real self. And you lose touch with your nature and you start to think that you're actually this weak, afraid person, right? So you never really develop your uniqueness. This internal energy, which is being like suppressed inside of us because you're not using your aggressive energy out of fear of being judged, lowers your energy. You have less energy to do things, and it constrains what you do. You don't want to step out of the guardrails. You don't want to go and step out of your personality. You don't want to go and step out of your fears. In other words, if this makes me afraid, I don't do it. Right? For example, I have a meditation meetup in Mexico. And the first few times I did this meditation meetup, I got really afraid to the point where I was considering canceling it. But one of the things about fear is that if I would have actually followed through on that fear, I would not have the group that I have today. I literally had to roam outside of those guardrails, of emotional guardrails, of nervousness and fear of failure. I had to walk in that direction in order to find out that those fears were pretty much not warranted. Right now, this group is pretty big. People are like demanding that I make more meetups, right? And this would have never happened if I didn't just allow myself to feel that fear and still walk through it. Like anything in life that you create, you're gonna have to feel this fear. And the only thing to push through it is your boldness, your fearlessness, right? Your courage. It's as simple as that. If you don't have any of that, what will happen is that when you feel that sense of fear, what's going to take over is not going to be your audacity. What's going to take over is going to be your timidity. And even if you follow through on your action, your timidity is going to push people away and it's not going to encourage people to believe in you. Right? So what people do then, when you internalize this fear, right, and you don't actually and you succumb to this fear, what would happen is that what you're trying to do is make the world you live in more predictable. You want no uncertainty. You want no uncomfortable feeling. So what this does is just makes you defensive, and you can never you create a ceiling around you that you can't grow that you can grow over. You got to realize is that this aggressive energy within you that you have, that every successful person releases, meaning everyone has it. You either have learned to release it and redirect it, or you've learned to suppress it. Everyone with this aggressive energy. This aggressive energy is linked to dopamine, right? The reward and motivation system of the brain. And our brain releases dopamine when we are in a goal achieving mindset, which then reinforces the behavior. Right, this seeking system is one of those things that in the beginning, when you first try to do something outside of your comfort zone, it's gonna be scary. But what you have to understand is that your brain will reward you for taking those risks. And if you keep doing it, each time you step out of your comfort zone, it's gonna get easier and easier and easier. And what this does is that over the years and months, this literally changes you from within. Taking risk literally rewires your brain from within, and it'll change your personality in a way that will communicate to people that you have this boldness. This change within you, if you keep doing it, because it's a reinforcing type of thing. At first, it's not going to be easy, but the more risk you take, the more your nonverbal cues is going to communicate to people that you have a history of taking risk, positive risk. And this is gonna be expressed as though you have confidence, right? Because you have a history of taking risk and succeeding, right? When it is not happening though, when you're not taking this type of risk and you're not using this aggressive energy, this excess dopamine that you have, dopamine can turn negative. Complacency and a lack of motivation can decrease release of dopamine, which results in a feeling of apathy, lethargy, and depression. Remember when I told you this internal energy that you suppress lowers your energy, constrains what you do, and makes you defensive? This is the neurological reason why that is, because you're not using it. And it's almost like good food that turns stale. You gotta use this energy. Suppressing it bottles our emotions and desires. And this bottling of emotions and desire is not that you're putting it in a bottle, but that your insides feel murky. Your inside feel foggy. You don't know what you're looking at. You're feeling something, but you don't know what it is. You're feeling unsatisfied, but you don't know what it is. You're feeling anxious, but you don't know why that is. That's really the bottling, the depression that you're feeling, the overall sense of unsatisfaction. And this tends to, if you're not aware of it, it'll turn outward and you'll start projecting it out into the world. And it'll reinforce not taking action. How does it reinforce it? By seeing fear everywhere, seeing not being afraid of being afraid of taking risk, being afraid of going out of your comfort zone. That's how you are projecting your fears out into the world, because you're bottling it up by not taking action. Right? So you feel frustration, resentment, and physical symptoms. Energy needs to be released, not suppressed. This also leads to changes in chemistry in prefrontal cortex. In other words, when you release this energy, it literally changes your brain chemistry for the better. It just does, right? It's almost like you sitting on one spot and all the blood like clotting up in one spot. You got to move yourself to allow the blood to flow through and to not create any blood clots, right? So how do you do this? Well, you must sublimate. Learn to channel impulses in a constructive and creative way. That's pretty much the definition of sublimation, right? It is aggressive energy. If not, it'll turn into destructive energy, right? This aggressive energy you can build or destroy, depending on what you tend to do. If you suppress it, it'll destroy. If you channel it, it'll build the great wonders of the world. It'll build your character. It'll build other people up, right? This also has an effect on our minds, right? This aggressive energy will just close your mind, make your mind more narrow. Creative people as a result tend to have an aggressive energy to think into new direction, to open their mind. So this aggressive energy, for people who suppress it, closes their mind. This aggressive energy, so for people who release it, opens their mind. It allows them to think outside of their narrow scope of thinking. It allows them to explore new ideas, even though it goes against your way of thinking. This aggressive energy has a characteristic to push through barriers, and these are mental barriers of saying, I'm not that type of person. I can't lead a group. I'm not that type of person. I can't study that. This aggressive energy allows you to push through those limiting beliefs. It just does. And this aggressive energy is just, it comes from the feeling of just desire. A desire to do things, a desire to achieve this goal. And what tends to happen is that when your aggressive energy senses your limitations, rather than you turning to fear and say, I can't do this aggressive energy taps into more energy within you and pushes through those limitations. Pretty much human will, human desire. Nothing can overcome human desire. It's just that simple. If you have enough energy, enough desire, and enough belief, this aggressive energy will literally conquer every limiting belief that you have. Any problem of any internal obstacles, it'll literally eat it up inside. It truly comes down for you to want something real bad, and it'll turn into aggressive energy that is constructive. This also affects our minds. Yep. Everything in your life is attempting to put you on the defensive. Is attempting to have you put your sword and shield down and to not fight, to make you more docile. This defensiveness puts you in a reactive mode, makes you lose focus on the big vision, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You need to be on the offensive, on the aggressive side, making things happen rather than waiting for things to happen. It's important to let this conscious aggressive energy marinate your body and mind. And look, this marination, like I said, in the beginning, it's going to be difficult. And that the reason why this is difficult, the reason why what I'm encouraging you guys is to ask for more and take more risk. This has such a deep fundamental effect on your brain and body. You gotta understand your nonverbal cues communicates your history. Your face communicates what you've done in the past. If you are afraid to do this, what you're pretty much doing, you're hardwiring in certain, you're gonna signal that. You're gonna signal it in your nonverbal cues. And it's gonna come across as afraid, as timid, and it's gonna encourage people to be more aggressive with you, to not respect you, and you'll lose opportunities to succeed in life, to get this job or that job, because you don't inspire respect. You don't inspire that sense of awe when you look at somebody who takes risk. You don't inspire that because you don't have any history of that. This will literally start to change you from within by you taking risk. By you going and doing things that make you nervous will change how your face is perceived, how your nonverbal cues is perceived by people. Right? So you see what tends to happen in life is that people who are defensive and afraid, they tend to try to feel comfortable and try to get some positive results by trying to be nice to people and trying to be conciliatory towards people as a way to get the same response. What you'll notice is that this is always wrong. Always wrong. Over time, people who you treat like that will take advantage of you. You being nice and generous creates spoiled and bratty people, and people who are entitled and people who don't respect you. And the reason why you're being nice is simply because you are afraid to use aggressive energy. You think it's not nice. It's been done to you, so you don't want to put other people in the same position, right? You feel like it's morally incorrect. You feel like it goes against this, against that. It goes against your character, or good people are not aggressive. You believe that. And so that limits your behavior. That limits your movement. And it surrounds you around people who are bratty, around people who are entitled, around wolves who want to eat you up and all in one bite. And what you have to do is free yourself from that self-imposed prison, right? Free yourself from the feeling of defensiveness and fear of unwanted things. The way to do this is by acting before you are ready in order to compensate for your hesitation. If you are a fearful person, you have to act before you are ready. It's as simple as that. There's never gonna be a perfect scenario. What you have to do is just to jump into that pool, even though you know it's cold. What you have to do is take that first step. For example, an example is with YouTube. It's a perfect example. A lot of people think that they're not ready for YouTube. And what that really is just their own fears. They say, I don't have the right camera. They say, I don't have the right microphone. Even though they may have a phone, they use that as an excuse to not initiate the action. If that's totally wrong, right? What you have to first find, in order to find out if you're ready or not, take the first step. Stop looking and making it an abstract exercise. Find out for yourself whether or not you're ready for something by taking the first step. And then you'll see through experience whether or not you're ready. And now you have some real live feedback, like a legit feedback. You failed. Boom. See what you did wrong. Look at what other people did differently that who were in a similar position, and then go back again and start all over again. And you'll notice you feel fear. There's a part of you that's kind of afraid, but even stay within that fearful feeling. Allow yourself to feel that fear and allow yourself to overcome it and go to the other side and look back and say, wow, I overcame it. This changes everything about you from within. You're going to get comfortable with this uncomfortable feeling. This is the thing. This feeling, people do, everyone feels it. I feel it too. The difference is that I've sort of like conditioned myself to push through it, like literally push through it. I don't care how nervous I feel. I'm still going to do this event. I don't care how many people go to the event. I'm still going to do it. It's just as simple as just pushing through it. And too many people fail the first step, which is just taking initial action. It's just that simple. Those who roam and never make a move, they are not thinking of you, but of themselves. They make you self-conscious. They are not bold. They have no sense of timing. They don't try to bring out of don't try to bring people out of their shells. It's a waste of time. They either get aggressive or insecure. And this is an example of people who succumb to the fear that I'm talking about. They make other people self-conscious. They make other people more timid or more aggressive, right? People cannot trust them. They don't know whether or not to put them in a position of leadership because they inspire no confidence. Why? Because you never face your fears. People, the way people judge people is all about how competent they look. Very few people actually judge you based on your true character and based on the things that you've done in the past. They generally have a feeling about you. Your vibe is a reflection of all of the things you've done in the past. All of those things that you failed to do that nobody knows about, people are still reacting to it through your nonverbal cues. They can sense that you once gave up. They can sense that you allow your demons to overtake you. And this unconscious belief in this unconscious sensing of those signals causes people to react with no respect to you because they're reacting to your past. And you can never get anywhere in life. You can never get any promotion. You can never get what you want in life if this is how you're walking around. This is what happens when you just become timid. What you want to do is use your timidity as a strategy. Is use your audacity as a strategy, not as a permanent state of mind. These are tools that you want to pick up and tools that you want to be able to pick down. Not like you're in one direction, one mode, one way of thinking. First, to do this, you got to understand something that I always say on my channel. First, people are more likely to attack you if they see you as weak. Simple as that. It's just that simple, right? Second, they cannot know for sure that you are weak. So they depend on the signals that you give out through your behavior, past and present. And third, the most important part, they are after easy victories. This is why they don't prey on the weak. They don't want somebody who could fight back. They could be stronger than you, and maybe they could completely destroy you. But if they sense that you're going to fight back, they'd rather leave you alone. Just an example of Frederick Douglass. It's one of my favorite stories. Frederick Douglass was a slave, and he was a very rebellious slave. Long story short, his slave master wanted to break him in. So he sent them to the slave breaker, right? He was a guy who specializes in breaking slaves during that time. And he sent them to him, and the first few days, it was normal, but then there was a time when they got into a fight. He whooped them, the slave master, and Frederick Douglass fought back. And Frederick was a big guy. Like, he was humongous. And he fought the slave owner. The slave breaker. He fought the slave breaker and his assistant. He beat both of them up. And then he left them at the barn and left and ran away. And Frederick was like, oh my God, he's gonna come and kill me. He's gonna come and kill me. But then he realized he wasn't gonna kill him. Why? Because if he killed Frederick, he was known to break everyone. And if he'd killed Frederick, the word would get around that he actually failed with one slave and it could ruin his business. So what he did was actually leave Frederick alone. And that's when Frederick said, that's when I became a man. That's when I felt like I was born. And ever since then, that slave guy never touched Douglas, never beat him, and was actually very careful around Douglas. And Douglas realized the power of fighting back, the power of standing up to someone. What tends to happen is that one act of audacity will literally create an aura of power around you. And you succumbing to people's abuses, you taking the bullshit that people give you. What they realize is that they actually lose respect for you. One of the things about bullies is that bullies respect people with audacity. An example was when I was playing basketball. I think I told the story, and how this one guy just kept talking shit to one of my teammates. Just kept talking shit, called him a bitch. I mean, yo, this dude was going in, getting in his face, and my teammate wasn't doing anything. My teammate was just hooping and letting his game speak to him. Like towards the last play of the game, no, like it was almost the end of the game, the guy got in my teammate's face, and my teammate just out of nowhere clocked him. Pop, pop. I just clocked him and went back to playing basketball. That guy was quiet the rest of the game. Another example was this. I was in New York City, and there was this one guy who was fighting this Mexican guy. Long story short, I caught them when they were confronting each other. The Mexican guy had a knife, and the white guy didn't have anything. But you know what the white guy had? A pair of fucking steel balls, man. This dude was the most audacious person I've ever seen in my life. This guy was like this, literally. Okay, this is imagine you're the Mexican guy. He was like, go ahead, fucking stab me. You got one motherfucking stab, and when I grab you, I'm gonna choke the living shit out of you. Go ahead, stab me. Go ahead. Only one. You only get one stab. That's what I remember him saying. You only get one stab. After that, I'm gonna grab you and choke the shit out of you. And the guy was like, and they both backed off. And I was like, yo, I've never seen that level of audacity, that level of boldness, disarm a guy with an actual weapon. His weapon was literally his balls, his boldness. Like, it's insane how that works. So what did he do? He won the first law. Remember, they will attack you if they think you're weak. So he thought he was weak because he didn't have a knife. But then people don't know whether or not you're weak. And so they observe your behavior, past and present. And the behavior of that guy was fearlessness. So then the guy realized that if he fought him, he was going to be able to beat him and stab him. But in the process of fighting him, he could get hurt. So what did he do? He backed off. Pretty much the same laws. You see, timidity doesn't inspire love, doesn't inspire ay bendito, doesn't inspire like people feeling bad for you. What it just inspires is disrespect. It's just that simple. It's unfortunate, right? It does suck, but it's just that simple. Niceness doesn't inspire niceness. It doesn't. It just inspires pity. You might confuse niceness with just them feeling pitiful of you. Only time niceness elicits niceness is when it's strategic, is when it's in the person's best interest. What they really are secret warriors, wolves disguised as sheep, slippery people who act nice to hide their aggression. That's all they are. Never out of a natural response, because niceness just doesn't inspire niceness. You got to get that through your heads. Timidity only inspires people to procrastinate. Aggression, more deception. It's like asking for your money back to someone who owes you money, and all you do is like, can you give me my money back? You're not gonna get your money back. You're too weak. You're too timid. You're not. They're gonna procrastinate because they don't respect you. You must become that person, nice on the outside, but aggressive on the inside. Where you are diplomatic on the outside, but you are relentless. You are relentless on the inside. So timidity, on the other hand, causes you to drive in one direction, one gear. What you want to be able to do is use timidity and niceness as a way to change the tempo, to mix things up. Moments of timidity and moments of boldness, moments of audacity. The overcoming this and using these tools will give you a different gear. An example was Vlad the Impaler. Vlad, long story short, he was getting abused in his castle, right? He was a prince, I think so, right? Long story short, the kings of that time used to really beat up on him, make fun of him, and he was really quiet. The reason why he was really quiet is because he knew it wasn't his time. As soon as his time came, he set up a trap for the people who abused him, and just with one finger, his guards came and killed them all, right? All of that was strategic. He could have lashed out at any moment in time, but he knew that if he did, he would have been killed. And so he used his timidity to buy himself time. And when he finally got the power, in one swift, bold move, he put fear into everyone's heart and became Vlad the Impaler. Always remember that when people think you are weak, they act aggressive. Always remember that. Never forget that. The reason why you're surrounded by so many people who take advantage of you and bully you, and why you feel weak, and why you feel you can't speak up, is simply because they think you're weak. They think you're timid. They think you won't stand up. But if they feel like you're strong and unpredictable or have hidden resources, they will back off. Like the Godfather, when he was protecting his father, his father got shot, right? And nobody was around in the hospital. In fact, the Corleone family had the police guard the Godfather, but the police were corrupt and their enemies told the police to leave. And so Michael Corleone realized that his father was in the hospital unattended and people wanting to kill him. So what he did, he went there. He put his father in a secret room and he waited outside. And there was also somebody who the Godfather helped in the past. And him and Michael, the guy who helped the Godfather, who was actually there to give the Godfather flowers, he told him, wait for me, come with me outside, and let's act like we have guns and that we're watching over our father. So what he did, he told him to just get a jacket, conceal your hands, right? To conceal your hands means you have something inside. And they were just waiting, right? And so a car passed by, and when the car passed by, they went like this. The two guys. And that car was full with guys with guns and weapons. And there was only two guys defending the Godfather with no weapons. But what happened? They were bold. They were audacious. They stood in front. They went like that, right? And the people in the car saw it, and they moved away. Remember, people want a weak victim. If they notice that you're strong, they will back away. And remember, strength and power is literally a physical illusion, because the true sources of strength is always outside. It's never in outside view. They saw the intimidation, which was going like that, hiding their hands and standing still. They created the illusion of power, and so they backed away. And they saved their father with no weapons. But the appearance of being menacing, the appearance of having weapons gave them power. And it stopped an aggressive attack in the process. Right? This perception of vulnerability could potentially trigger aggressive behavior in some individuals, as they may feel a sense of power or dominance over those who seem less likely to assert themselves. If they would have saw no one there and what they would have sensed was weakness, gone inside the hospital, shot the whole place up, and killed the Godfather, right? You got to realize that people get addicted to weak people. You literally become an addiction to people who are bullies. Why? Because power is a drug. You become an easy source of self-esteem. You become their drug, taking advantage over you. Like an army fighting a weaker one to increase its morale. People will use you to feel confident. People will use you to increase their self-esteem through your weaknesses. Right? You may not be strong, but you could definitely, just like Michael Corleone, affect people's perception of you. That's something that anyone can do. You must play with people's appearances to find and mislead them. For example, people who go to prison, a lot of them understand that getting tattoos makes you look more intimidating. It's just that simple. They start getting tattoos and it actually works. It's a sign of strength for some reason. And actually, studies show that getting tattoos increases the immune system of your body, so it might be a true thing. So you must remove any forms of femininity in your public light. That's the first thing. Any forms of femininity, you got to remove them. Like how Tony Soprano did with his therapy session, right? An example is like Tony Soprano was from the show the the Sopranos, right? And they found out that he went to therapy. And what that actually did, and it inspired a war. People actually started fighting. People actually started testing him. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. The problem that is that it comes across as weak. One of the forms of male therapy is physical exertion. That's how men release emotions, through physical exertion. Women have an easier time verbally speaking about their problems and experiencing relief. That's more of a female thing. It's not that guys don't benefit from it, but that studies show that women actually benefit more from the same type of therapy as men do. And so any forms of femininity, like therapy in the show The Sopranos, it created a fight, created a war, because it looked like Tony was actually weak because of therapy. Right? And so you got to, unfortunately, people, if you're watching this, you got to remove any forms of femininity on the outside to protect power and strength. You have to remove it. That means the way you talk, speaking in an uptone. Hey there, how are you? Oh my God. Like uptone, speak more in a low tone. Even the way you dress has to be masculine. You literally have to be trans, pretty much, right? And what you'll notice is that if you just remove all any hints of femininity in the way that you dress, in the way that you look in places that you want power, what you will notice is that without you saying a word, you're already creating a much different impression. You will look completely different. You're competent. You look way more competent. It's just that simple, without even saying a word. And one of the most important things is learning to not project fear in your body language and in your face, right? It's really hard not to do. That's why you actually have to practice meditation, right? And actually start taking actions on your fear. Each time you take action on your fears, it gets easier. And so the easier it gets, the less fear you show in your face. And this is very important. You guys really have no idea how often fear is in your face to make it into a problem, but it is a big problem, and it is something that happens very, very, very often. Your fears put you on your heels and gives power and energy to the enemy, which gives them more possibilities. It makes them more emboldened, and it makes them more aggressive. Makes them more aggressive, exactly, which spirals you into more timidity. Don't you notice why kids who get bullied a lot? Like they just keep getting bullied. No matter where they go, they keep finding the same type of bully no matter where they go. And the reason why that is because your internal state creates your environment. If you're bullied one place, you're going to be bullied in another place, and in the same way by the same type of person. That's true. Isn't that insane how much your mindset controls your environment? Right? A lot of your timidity is fear and is always interpreted as fear if never balanced with boldness. So you could be a timid person, like a shy person, for example, Like naturally shy is not that you don't have any confidence, but you're just shy. But unfortunately, that shyness is interpreted as fear. Until you prove them otherwise, though, if you really are not a fearful person and you're just shy, they'll find out. But initially, they're gonna test you. You're giving them signs of weakness. It's like somebody. It's like a crocodile. Crocodiles won't eat you if you're friends with them. For example, if you're a crocodile raiser, if you raise crocodiles, they're not gonna eat you. But if you actually start splashing on the water and start acting like a dead prey, what the crocodile will do, they'll try to tap you. They'll tap you with their noses to see if you're moving. And if you don't move, they're gonna start eating you because they sense fear. And that's how people are, right? So you have to balance your timidity with boldness, with acts of boldness, with being strong, with not being afraid to offend people sometimes, and not just give them one signal, which is timidity. Balance it out. Those who are tyrants and domineering can sense this even better. You must first lose your fear of death, your fear of consequences of a bold maneuver, your fear of what other people could do if you start being bold in yourself. Once you do that, you have more possibilities. So you want to start small. Find the little things that you're afraid of. Maybe you're afraid of approaching this person. Maybe you're afraid of asking for a raise. Maybe you're afraid of going to a little meetup with people, of being social. Start with little acts of boldness. And then what's going to happen is that, like I said, your brain is going to reward you because every time you act on a fear, it releases dopamine. And so your brain is going to reward the risk taking, which then will reinforce that behavior and it'll help you do even more things. But you first have to start small, right? You can't be freaking trying to jump the fucking Grand Canyon and you're afraid of heights. No, start with a stair, right? And slowly build up your confidence. Like it's as simple as this, people. Find the little things. So let's just say your biggest fear is starting a business. Okay, you don't have to start a business. Maybe the smallest fear that you have is going on a date, for example. Or maybe the smallest fear that you have is not having your phone. Start with small things and notice how your fears is always out of proportion with reality. That's where you're going to notice. It's always out of proportion with reality. Let me repeat this again. Your fears are always out of proportion with reality. So what will happen is that every time you confront a fear, you're going to see right through it. It's like petting a dog that you think is mean, but then when you pet the dog, you notice it's a nice, cute little dog, right? So every time this happens, your brain is going to reward you. And each time you don't get bitten, you're not going to be afraid. What you want to be able to notice is that the worst case scenario never truly happens. That's how fear works. And you don't think your way out of fear, you act your way out of it. And you expose what you are afraid of, you expose it in the light of reality. And it's just, like I said, almost everything that happens, almost everything that you fear usually is an exaggeration. And you have to validate that. People who live in fear live in a labyrinth of a mind-made illusion. You're creating illusions where things look stronger than they are, and also an illusion of yourself where you appear weaker than you really are, right? That's one thing. So yeah, those who are tyrants and domineers can sense this. You must first lose your fear of death. Okay. Consequences of a bold maneuver, of what other people will think of you. And one of the ways this is why I always tell people to meditate on your death. When you're able to accept your death, when you're able to not fear your death, everything pales in comparison to that. When you have a lot of fear of death, everything looks fearful. It's really one of those unconscious beliefs, unconscious fears that it's hard to see the link. How am I afraid of death? How does my fear of death affect my fear of taking risk? Well, almost everything is a metaphor for death. Even taking a risk is a metaphor of death. Like it's like you're risking your reputation on this thing, right? So you're risking your reputation, which is your metaphor of death, right? But yeah, anyways, I'm losing my train of thought, people. So yeah, so it's important to let people know that if they mess with you, you aren't as nice anymore. This is why people are multifaceted and that this is why people are so interested. The truth is that people are contradictions. There's no such thing as a consistent person if they really are objective about their self-image. People are contradicting. A lot of spirit, like, you could be an aggressive person, but you could also be a passive person. For example, look at animals, right? Animals are friend-shaped, but they're not friendly. You know what I'm saying? Like bears are very friendly looking. They're cute, but they'll eat you alive, right? A lot of the animals that you see have the cutest look, but they're hyper aggressive and they can eat you. But one of the things about predators that I find fascinating is that when you see a predator around its family, they look like the sweetest animals. But then when you watch it hunt, they're fucking merciless, right? And that's the source of their strength, is that they're able to be gentle. They're able to be very gentle with their family, but they're also able to be a freaking beast, a ravaged beast that will eat you alive, even with no mercy, right? This is what makes animals so powerful, so interesting. And as humans, we also have that. We're not any different. We're different, but in terms of the structure of how we are, humans have a lot of sides to their personality and their aggressive side as well. And too many people have overdeveloped one side of their personality and underdeveloped another side of their personality. Too many people overdevelop their niceness, but never truly develop their aggressiveness, and vice versa. Some people only develop their aggressive side and don't develop their nice side. And this limits you. You don't have any gears. You only have one direction, one tempo, right? You want to be difficult. Remember when I told you about the hospital messing up my prescription order, where I was given, the doctor told me to take a certain test, and they literally gave me the wrong test. And then I went I went the next day, asking for the same test because I think they did it wrong, and they still gave me the same test. And I was like, "Are you sure it's this test?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, it is." And I was like, "All right, I pay for it." So I paid for both tests twice, and they were both wrong, despite me getting confirmation that they were right. And I remember me relenting. I was like, "No, I want a refund, and I want those tests." And they were like, "No, sir, but you can't." No. I want my refund, and I want that test too. I want my cake. I want the cake, and I want to eat it too. All right. And that unrelenting, and it was funny, as I apologized afterwards because I felt so bad. I think that guy got fired, to be honest. I really felt bad, but I couldn't help it. They were wrong, and I was in the right. And the girl that I was with, she kind of saw that. She was like, "Damn, Alexis, like," because I'm usually extremely nice and relaxed. But she saw it. She was like, "Damn, like you were unrelenting." I was like, "Yeah, motherfucker, because they owe me that shit." You can't just have one gear. The other side is like your parent, right? It's the part of you that stands up to when somebody's trying to bully your kid, right? That's what you have to develop, that aggressive side, because if you don't, that side is your bodyguard. You don't want a weak ass bodyguard, you know? So you want to show them that you could also not be nice and that you could be extremely difficult to deal with. You want to be difficult. You want to be able to show people that you have a difficult side. For example, if you're negotiating for money, for example, and they're trying to pay you, you want to ask for as much as you can. You want to ask for double or 3 times what they're offering and be difficult, and then slowly say, "You know what? I'll take a lower amount." But if you actually take a lower amount after demanding a lot more, like demanding 3 times what you're worth, you're gonna actually end up negotiating for more. People respect difficult people, man. I'm telling you, not difficult people for the sake of being difficult, but just people who make negotiations difficult. People who are very like a bull, like a lawyer. Right? Like a lawyer that's very difficult to deal with. You want that lawyer, right? So make it painful for them to fight with you. And the thing is that a lot of us in life, we encounter situations where we have to be difficult, and we just we get shy. We grow inward, and we become the easiest person to deal with because we don't want to be difficult. No, you got to learn the power of being a difficult prick sometimes. Being difficult is a power that gives you power. So deter people from you. Send out a threatening presence by being difficult to deal with when during negotiations or during conflicts. You could do this by really taking bold action, like breaking up with someone, or right, or not texting them back after they messed up, after they offended you, after they broke your rules or disrespected you. Maybe you stop talking to them, or you break up with them, right? Or you threaten to leave the job. Make them feel like they got you all wrong. If you gave people the impression that you were very easy to push around, you have to do an equally aggressive act that goes against what you portrayed, because it's your fault that you portrayed that. So it's your responsibility to make up for it. So how do you do that? Well, first, you want to feel one of the things about aggressive energy is that aggressive energy usually is mostly used when you're asking for things, when you're demanding for things, when somebody's trying to give you less than you deserve. And that's why it's important to literally feel like you deserve more. If you feel like you deserve more, you're going to demand more. It's as simple as that. Just start training yourself to ask for more and defend yourself and be difficult. It's a process. You have to literally train your mind to do this. In negotiations, train yourself to settle for less and make bolder demands and see how far you can take it. Look, man, you'd be surprised how far demanding a lot gets you. For example, with my videos, if you guys notice, my courses, they're not that expensive, right? And the reason why that is because I have another objective in mind, right? Because I want it to be accessible to a lot of people, right? But everything else in life, working with me one-on-one, or even negotiations with somebody who's trying to work with me, or even a company who's trying to work with me who wants consultations, like I demand a lot. Like to the point that sometimes I don't even get work. Like not like it's not working. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you demanding a lot raises people's respect for you. Just demanding a lot and them saying no to you, just the fact that you're demanding so much, they respect you. They're like, it's what Christopher Columbus did, right? He was a guy he was a peasant, poor, but because he asked for so much to the queen that despite her saying no, she respected him. She was like, yo, this guy, you got balls. Remember that scene from Breaking Bad, when Hank let me show you guys right now. This is a perfect example of this principle. This is from Breaking Bad. And the character, Walter, his friend, his partner went to this guy, Tuco, trying to sell it, and Tuco beat him up. And so Walter's asking for an apology, and he's asking for him to buy a certain amount. Watch this; it'll explain it.
Hey, steal your dough. I beat the piss out of your mule boy, and then you walk in here and you bring me more, man.
Right. So the fact that he beat up his friend. Walter is going into a situation where he is surrounded by enemies, and it's only him.
Woo, that's a brilliant plan, is it? Brilliant. You got one part of that wrong.
Notice how this happens. But the beauty about this is that his power is concealed. With his extraordinary power is concealed with his ordinary look. His quiet demeanor and just the calmness, in contrast to what he's about to do, creates a sense of intimidation. And just the fearlessness, his ability his willingness to chop off his nose to spite his face makes him dangerous. Someone who's fearless is dangerous. Watch.
This is not meth.
right? That's self-destructive, and this is madness. This type of self-destructiveness creates intimidation, right? Now, obviously, we're not going to be doing this at your boss's office, right? You're like, this is not meth. I'm like, they'll go to prison.
Nuts!
Yeah, exactly. You want to find out? That's that type of boldness. And look what he says.
Gonzo, calma.
Look what he says.
Calma. Here you go.
You got balls. I'll give you that. He respects that.
All right. I'll give you your money.
He's completely different than his partner Jesse. His partner Jesse got beat up. And if you watch the scene where his partner Jesse, he was scared, he was intimidated, and they sensed it. This guy looks like he has nothing to lose. In fact, he does have nothing to lose because he's actually going to die of cancer, right? And because of that fearlessness, it changed everything about him. If you watch Breaking Bad, one of the things about him is that at first he was a fearful person. When he realized he was going to die, and when he realized that he didn't have a lot of time left, the realization of his mortality destroyed his fear, and it transformed him into the animal that he became. But in order to reach those heights, you have to be fearless. You have to be not afraid to die, not afraid to lose money, not afraid to lose friends, not afraid to lose your time, not afraid to let go of something that's for sure, not afraid to be homeless, not afraid to go hungry for a few days, not afraid to live a meager life for a few months. This changes who you are at a fundamental level, losing fear. And the way to overcome that fear, notice how he is afraid here. He's not fearless. He is afraid. But when I say fearless, I mean being able to face fears and still look at it eyeball to eyeball and not blink.
That crystal that your partner brought me, it sold faster than $10 ass in TJ. Let's say you bring me another pound next week.
He demands for more.
Money up front.
Because he didn't give money up front to his partner. But just notice
money up front.
The way he said it, he's like, okay.
Money up front.
And he respects that. And the look.
Sometimes you gotta rhyme to keep your riches. It's as long as we got an understanding. 1 pound is not gonna cut it.
Notice.
You have to take 2.
Right, he's asking for more. He respects that.
Hey, what is it? Fulminated mercury. A little tweak of chemistry.
And just what you have to understand, right? This is my notes right here. To the editor, remove the notes part. Remove that. But you have to understand the process of asking for more and not being shy about it has an unconscious shift of how people perceive you. They look at you now eye level to eye level. And too many of you guys have been trained to not ask for more simply because you're afraid that if you ask for more, you're going to get nothing. No. Asking for more respect, for more consistency, for more of whatever you want to get, asking for more of it will increase the likelihood you get it. Asking for less will increase the likelihood you get nothing. It's one of those paradoxes. Ask for more, you get more. Ask for less, you get less. It's that simple. Being polite, not trying to ruffle feathers really doesn't take you anywhere. So you got to demand for more. Start feeling like you deserve more. Ask for the moon. You can always get back what you ask. You can always get back what you ask for in concessions. But just ask for it and then give it back. So for example, if somebody's offering $10 an hour, ask for $25 an hour. Be difficult and then and then start giving up some more. Just say, okay, you know what, $14 an hour. The contrast of what you asked for, what you said, and what you settled for, creates a psychological sensation that the other person won in the negotiation. When in reality, you were looking and eyeing for $14 an hour in this example. Make them struggle in negotiations. That's what you want. You just got to make them struggle a little bit. Make them sweat. Be a little difficult, even if it means you never get what you want. Because Christopher Columbus never got what he wanted initially. He kept telling people what he wanted, and people found it amusing. And the thing is that people respected his ask, which led him to get to know more powerful people and eventually find the one person who actually said yes. If you are weak, ask for little, and you will get little. Act strong, be firm, and make crazy demands, and you will create an impression of power. They will think your confidence has something real backing it up. The respect will become a leverage, which you can use to get more things in the future. Make it clear you are willing to walk away. Even if you compromise, you will gain more. Just even if you compromise, by being difficult and asking for a lot, you're going to get more. Let me give you an example, a few examples of aggressive negotiations that I've written down for you guys, right? In competitive job markets or industries, job seekers who lack extensive experience or credentials often negotiate from a perceived weaker position, and that's true. But these individuals can advance negotiations by highlighting their potential for growth, pursuing additional certifications or relevant skills, and showcasing their adaptability and eagerness to contribute to the organization. With each interview and interaction, they can strategically position themselves as a valuable asset. Right? So you negotiate while you continue to gain experience. Another example is educational pursuits. For individuals navigating educational environments, especially those who may feel timid in academic or professional settings, demonstrating strength and resolve could involve actively participating in class discussions, seeking out research opportunities, and consistently pursuing academic excellence. These actions can help them gain recognition and create opportunities for collaboration and leadership roles. So these are ways you can leverage what you have, which is leveraging your energy and leveraging your potential. You may not have any qualifications, but you can leverage your energy and your potential, right? Everyone has with every strength comes weakness. With your youth comes energy and potential. With being older comes experience and wisdom, right? You got to leverage it. And each strength of the old is the weakness of the young, but the strength of the young is the weakness of the old, right? So there's never really a position of weakness. You just got to learn to leverage what you already have. Contractor bidding for projects. That's another example. A contractor bidding for a construction project not only negotiates the project cost, but also requests involvement in the project design phase, decision-making authority over material selection, and autonomy in hiring subcontractors. By positioning these comprehensive requests, the contractor communicates a proactive approach, deep commitment to project success, and dedication to delivering exceptional results, thereby instilling confidence and respect among potential clients. So, because I used to work in construction, one of my bosses actually said this to me, which was actually very true, that if you're a contractor, don't just negotiate the money, negotiate more responsibility. And negotiate that wanting a say in the design, wanting a say in the hiring process, because by you demanding more than what they want, you create an aura of power and competence around you, and this aura, you could use it to negotiate for more things, to demand for more things, and this power and this aura is created by just demanding more. It's as simple as that, right? So it's just that simple. Another example: freelancer proposing collaboration. A freelance professional not only negotiates fees, but also requests creative control, credit attribution, and involvement in high impact decision making process within a collaborative project. So you don't just work on a project. If you're hired, you demand for more. You ask for credit, you ask for this, you ask for that. Try to see how much you could get. It doesn't have to be just asking for more money. By articulating these ambitious requests, the freelancer asserts their expertise, artistic integrity, and commitment to producing exceptional work, thus earning respect as a valued creative partner. Right? Leonardo da Vinci used to do this. Leonardo da Vinci said that when he made the Last Supper, he wanted to find the right person for Judas. And it took months to find the right person for Judas. And even though it delayed the project, his demand for more time and his demand to make it as perfect as possible created a reputation of being a perfectionist, of making everything at the highest degree. And this reputation he leveraged for more projects. He leveraged for more money. An example is Leonardo da Vinci was at one point was tired of painting, and everyone just wanted to hire him as a painter, and he refused. He wanted to be an architect. He wanted to be hired by someone to be an end all be all. He wanted a king to hire him not only as an architect, but as a weapons design, as an inventor, as a choreographer in the courts. So he used his reputation of a perfectionist, of people seeing him go above and beyond what's asked for, and use that as leverage. So he wanted to be hired as an end all be all, like as a one-stop creative shop type of person. And when he was writing letters, he was like, I could do anatomy, I could draw anything, I could invent stuff, I could create different war machines to kill people, literally. And he demanded that, and he didn't relent. He didn't want anything else. If you're not gonna hire him for all of that, he wasn't gonna be hired. And eventually, he got hired, and he got placed to live with kings, and they treated him like royalty. But they only did that because he wanted more. And another example is Michelangelo. Michelangelo, when he got hired by the Medicis, he told the guy, I want to be your apprentice with no experience. I want to be your apprentice, but you're gonna have to pay me. The balls in that man to want to learn sculpture, but demand the teacher to pay him. You know what the teacher did? He ended up paying him, because no dude has this much balls, this much audacity is not backed up by actual talent. And that's what actually happened. Another example is a real estate negotiation. A prospective home buyer not only negotiates the purchase price, but also requests additional property improvements, extended post-sale warranty, and seller financing options. By making comprehensive requests, reflecting a long-term vision for the property, the buyer conveys full commitment to investing in the property's potential and creating a mutually beneficial transaction, which can lead to increased respect and responsiveness from the seller. Just demanding a lot. What you got to understand is not the act of demanding a lot and getting it. It's the act of demanding a lot and them saying, okay, this person is different because of how much he's asking for. He must be someone who deserves respect. And that's exactly how people interpret your difficultness. It's not the act of just getting everything you want. It's the act of making them suffer a little bit, making them struggle a little bit, making them curse the day they met you because of how difficult you are. And they end up giving you more as a result. Okay, so now let's talk about some social examples. I give you guys professional examples of how you could leverage what you already have. But let's talk about the social realm. In the social realm, it's not about negotiation per se. It is about negotiation, but essentially, you want to start calling out passive aggressive behavior. That's the first thing you want to do, right? Ask for more, and you'll notice your fears are not based on the truth. So the first thing is, one, call out passive aggressive behavior. People who are being subtly disrespectful. For example, I was talking, we had some people over for dinner, and And the girl's boyfriend, who they were here for dinner, told me about how his boss disrespected him one time in front of everyone. And he told me the way he dealt with it was that he let it slide in public, but he came back to his boss when things were calm and told him, "Hey, look, man, I appreciate the job, but you can't talk to me like that, right?" And I found that to be a very, very interesting way of doing it, where he waited till everything calmed down and one-on-one went up to him and confronted him and told him not to do that, right? And he told me that after that, he stopped, his boss never talked to him again like that. But then he noticed that he did talk to other people more disrespectfully, but not to him, right? Calling out passive aggressive behavior. That's the first thing. And learning to have those little confrontations, those kind of conversations. Or even like, for example, like if you have to fire someone, that's something that takes aggressive energy. Anything that's outside of your comfort zone when it comes to confrontation, you have to make a concerted effort to start having those tiny moments of conflict and allow yourself to feel uncomfortable. Because the more you do this, the more you're going to get comfortable with it, right? And the next thing you got to do in the social realm is just, like I said, demand more respect, demand more pay, demand more consistency from people, demand more. And what you'll notice is that you're going to get more. And a lot of the times your fear of asking is based on them saying no. You're going to notice that when you demand more, people say yes more. I know it's counterintuitive, but they say yes more. You have a high likelihood of getting that job if you ask twice as much than just asking for it and not demanding much, right? Now, so that's one thing, right? You have to find moments when you got to do confrontation. And that means, for example, in relationships, having those uncomfortable conversations. That's another thing that, that's another thing that does show a power, that does show confidence. Being willing to have those uncomfortable conversations and not running away from those uncomfortable moments. Now, the next thing is using boldness for your creativity, right? This is the thing. Even in creativity, you apply boldness. You apply a certain tenaciousness, a certain bravado to you. You're not afraid to try new forms of art. You're not afraid to try a new career. You're not afraid to go in the opposite direction of the avant-garde. That's what Picasso did, where everyone was painting realistically. He decided to paint a figure from multiple angles in one drawing, going against the rules. That does take a lot of risk. And another example is me quitting my job, where I quit my job because I felt like I could do YouTube videos, right? That took a certain level of boldness, right? And this is a muscle that you build up slowly. This muscle of creativity, this muscle of thinking outside the box, this muscle of taking risk, it's a muscle you build up slowly. But once you build it up, you'll notice you're going to not be aware of how bold you are. That's the first thing. You're not going to be aware of how much you demand. But what you're going to notice is that just things come to you. In other words, if you do this right, you're not going to be aware of how much you've changed. You're not going to be aware of how bold you are. You're just going to notice that all of a sudden things open up to you. All of us, it's like when you meditate. If you meditate for a whole year, you're not going to notice the difference of how you behave. You're just going to notice people are friendlier to you. And it's going to feel like some magical universal power. The truth is, you're acting fundamentally different. You're just not aware. You know, it's the same thing with this. This muscle that you build up, you're not going to be aware of how much you're building it up. But if you just keep attacking your weaknesses and not attacking your fears and doing things that you're afraid of, you're gonna know things would just open up. But the reason why they're opening up is because you're just being more demanding, right? At first, you'll be afraid, but over time, you'll get used to it. Remember, it's a weapon, a tempo you mix with your other forms of tempo, right? It's a tempo that you mix up. Like with the Walter White, right? He didn't just come in with his blowing and then like doing exploding. No, he built it up, and the build up. And then all of a sudden, the bold move has a psychological component to it. They call that quick, slow, quick. It's a form of fighting of ancient China, not just China, but where you start slow and then you build it up and where you start slow and then you end quick, right? For example, with this course, it took me almost a year or two of research, a year or two, but it's the last few weeks that I'm actually recording. This whole time has been a very slow build up, and now that I'm ready, I'm executing fast, right? Slow, quick, right? And this, having bravado, having what's that word? I just love that word. Let me look it up right here. Having bravado, having audacity gives you an extra tempo. It just does. It gives you the type of tempo that allows you to slow down and speed up. It increases. So another ways that you could increase your boldness and tenacity and the audacity is just to become more ambitious, demand more, want more. You want to make $100,000. Well, start wanting to make $500,000. Your meditation group is 5 people. Start wanting 100 people in your meditation group. You want to be able to make 10 3-pointers in a row. Start wanting to make 30 3-pointers in a row. Increase what you want. Want more. Increase your ambition, and your aggressive energy will also increase with it. And sometimes this comes because you have low ambition, the low energy levels, is because you just don't believe it's possible. You never had good role models. So what you have to do is actually, one of the things that I did to increase my ambitions is just to read biographies of people who are successful and whom I admire. I wanted to see how they started. And the funny thing is, reading the biographies actually increased my ambition. It made me want something. It increased my personal standards. So once you see someone, for example, a great biography is reading the book Total Recall. It's Arnold da Vinci. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's biography. It's really inspirational, and that book will definitely teach you how to increase your standards by just reading his biography. Increase your ambition. Stop wanting little. Stop wanting to only make $10 an hour, $20 an hour, $100 an hour, $200 an hour. This will increase your energy and your creativity to meet those standards. You always get what you want. That's just how life is. You get what you want. And the thing is, what you want is what you feel like you deserve. That's how that works. If you want $15 an hour, it's because you think that's achievable. Increase what you want, and you'll notice your desire, your ambition, your aggressive energy will increase with it. Think about it. What's Black Friday when people start fighting each other? It's because they want something, so that they get more aggressive. Another thing that lowers this aggressive energy is having vague desires, not knowing exactly what you want. This will only lead to dissatisfaction. But find some ambitions from your childhood. What you wanted when you were a child. What were your goals? What were your dreams? And blend it in with today. Find out what you wanted when you were a kid and see how you can integrate that with what you're currently doing. But you want to have clear goals, clear vision. I think I do talk about this in this course. But you got to have clear desires. You can't have any vague desires. If I ask you, what do you want to be 10 years from now? You want to give me a quick and decisive answer with specifics and details. For example, when I was younger, before I started YouTube, I was finding a way to how to make this happen. I just didn't know how to. But what I did was I read the book by Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins. What's the book called? Oh my God, what's that book called? Awaken the Giant Within. And he had a section about goal setting. And one of the ways that I set my goals, I remember I wanted to live on top of the YMCA on 5th Street and 14th Street in Manhattan. I wanted to live on the 5th floor. I was going to pay $5,000 a month. In the morning, I play basketball, and then after that, I'd make YouTube videos until 12. And then at 12, I go to yoga class, and then at 6 p.m., I hang out with friends and have dinner. And then after that, I smoke weed and go to sleep. Right? I had a very specific vision, and I remember visualizing that vision, and that became my desire, my obsession. And when you become obsessed about a future vision, you're just gonna increase that energy, and this energy If you feel it for a long enough time, if you remain yourself, if you stay in that ambitious state long enough, it literally changes your demeanor. It just changes your demeanor. It changes you from within. And you'll radiate ambition. You'll radiate desire. You'll radiate a sort of self-confidence that makes people want to follow you, right? That's one thing. Now, the next thing is ambition will open you up and increase your aggressive energy. Make it clear so that it'll increase the likelihood of you reaching it. You want to know exactly what you want. Be very, very specific. Don't just say, I want to make this much money. How are you going to make it? Where are you going to make it? Who's your boss? Is there a boss? How do you feel? How do people feel about you? Like, be very specific. When you give your brain a very specific vision, it makes it happen. It's you get what you are obsessed about. Become obsessed about a detailed vision and you will get it. Plain and simple, bar none, you're bound to be successful. It's how that works. It's the law of nature. Make it so clear that it feels real. Once you achieve it, find another one. This is a ladder that will transform you as you keep climbing. Once you achieve one goal, find another goal. Once you achieve that goal, find another goal, and don't stop. And make sure that there's no resting in between. Keep the momentum going. Right? Another thing that you want to do is find out what are your fears and confront it. Like, for example, like I said, I was scared to make that meditation group here. I don't know why. I just get scared of doing that. But you want to know what I do all the time? My compass is what I fear. If I fear this, that's what I got to do. It's just that simple. If I fear that, that's what I got to do. It's just that simple. Like, sometimes it's hard to know what you want. Sometimes if you don't know what you want, then go towards what you fear. I'm telling you, you're going to go towards your fear. You fear asking that girl out, go ask her out. You fear taking that job, go take that job. You fear quitting, do that. Well, don't quit unless you have a backup plan. Confront your fears. And this confronting a fear also means confronting people who are being disrespectful, breaking up with that person, standing up for other people. That's another way to increase your aggressive energy. Sometimes you don't have the energy to help yourself, but sometimes you'll notice you have more energy to help other people. In fact, you actually do. So you could be an advocate or defender, defend other people, help other people. If you see somebody being treated unfairly, defend them. You'll notice that it'll come with an increased energy. And this increasing of energy, you could use this as momentum to actually defend yourself. It's because sometimes it's easier to help somebody else. It really is. Sometimes your inner lion comes out when somebody's being abused, a lot more than you being abused. Right? And that also means learning how to take appropriate risk and speaking up for what's right. Right? So that's one way, right? This is in the social realm. Right? Now, let's talk about how to use emotions to make this happen as well. Right? Because you got to learn to use your anger. Anger is healthy and good for you. Okay? You can make this into a new section to the editor. Anger is healthy and good for you when directed to people who are blocking your path, right? You use it during moments of complete injustice, and you all know that. You know what are those moments of injustice? Like when I told you about that guy in the hospital who messed up my order and didn't want to give me my refund, right? And I'm like, nah, I want my refund and my order. That I felt righteous to be angry. I had every right to be angry. So use this emotion when you need to take bold action. But make sure it's an anger that's simmering, not going out of control, going full on meteor mode. Make sure it's controlled and realistic, and never forget what inspired it. Don't let your anger be redirected towards other people unfairly. Always remember why you're angry. Always remember what inspired it. So that you could keep it under control. When you forget why you feel angry, it's like a flamethrower that explodes in your face and burns the whole building. But when you keep in mind why you're feeling this anger, you are wielding it like a welder wields fire. You are wielding this and redirecting it, but you have to remain focused and not let the anger completely take you over. Don't let this anger go out of control. Don't let your anger go out of control, it'll be reflected, it'll be redirected to external causes that don't help you. It's like, for example, there was a video of a tiger, no, of a cougar who got scared, right? She was gonna eat her food, but hyenas came and ate it, and so she climbed the tree, and she was pissed off. And then the tiger, no, the cheetah saw a group of people watching her, right? No, I think it was a leopard. Saw a group of people watching her, and literally the leopard started chasing the car that was watching her. Why was that? Well, because first of all, she lost her food. She was angry, and she couldn't attack the hyenas. But then she saw a group of people, and so she redirected that anger towards a group of people, right? That's what you should not do. Don't let this anger go out of control where you start projecting emotions onto other people. Don't let it, right? Because what anger does, anger has a very powerful ability to literally attribute hostility towards people who are not even being hostile. You get what I'm saying? So you got to control this anger. If you have anger issues, this is not for you, right? You want to let this anger be, you want to, don't let this anger go out of control, right? It'll be redirected towards causes that do not help you if you let this happen. Your anger will give you patience, right? It's better to let it simmer and let it gently inspire you. Your anger will give you patience to wait for things to unfold. If you're, for example, if somebody kills your family and you're trying to get revenge and you're really angry, you're going to follow them and stalk them, right? For example, the anger you feel will give you patience to stalk them. It will give you patience. The anger that you feel will give you the necessary patience to get revenge, will give you the necessary patience to get better at something so that you could beat your nemesis. You see how anger, it was the anger that gave Martin Luther King the patience to deal with all of the racism while he was the leader of the civil rights movement. It was his anger that gave him the control to not fight back even though he was getting punched and hit unfairly. You know, anger is something that could be used to completely get you out of control. But if you learn how to wield it, you could control your body more than anything. It's a powerful thing, especially when you allow yourself to feel anger at injustice, at people trying to take advantage of you, at people trying to take advantage of somebody else. Let it energize you. Use it to defeat the bully. Use it to become the bully of the bully. Right? And this anger comes with a fearlessness. This anger comes with a fuck everything, like scorched earth type of mindset. It comes with a natural fearlessness when you're angry. You gotta use anger, right? For example, let's just say you gotta fire someone, and you like them. It's gonna be hard, but let's just say this person stole money from you. The anger that you feel will give you the fearlessness to fire them all of a sudden. You get what I'm saying? It's how they say, I was going to say honest people are angry, but what I'm trying to say is that this anger could allow you to break through your fears. That's one of the most powerful ways to overcome your fears is to use anger appropriately. Use your anger to create, other ways you could use anger for is use your anger to create better art and in your work, right? Allow anger to create most of your artwork. Allow anger. What are you angry about? And use and create a business based on anger. For example, there was this guy whose parent who was a victim of squatting, right? He wanted to sell his house because his mom died. And when he went to the house, he saw squatters. And the police told him that he can't do nothing about it. He wanted to kill those squatters. But what he did, he got so angry, he was like, you know what? I'm going to do them what they did to me. When they leave, I'm going to squat and do exactly what they did. He waited for them to leave for a few days, right? He was waiting outside all day in his car. And his anger gave him the patience to wait. And so he was waiting for them and they left. Long story short, he snuck in the house. He had his keys. He told his mom to write a lease agreement because that's what the squatters did. And he literally squatted the squatters. He got so happy by the results, and he felt so much anger towards the squatters. He realized he can make a business out of it, and he made a business out of it. And now he's using the anger to help other people in similar situations. That's how you use your anger in that situations. His anger gave him the persistence. His anger gave him the perseverance to deal with the drudgery. Over time, if you do this, because again, allowing yourself to redirect your anger removes your fears. Let's just remove your fears. Find a cause. Why are you doing what you're doing? It'll remove your fears. You're afraid to fight someone, but if you're fighting for the life of your kid, it'll create so much fucking anger that you're not gonna be afraid no more. Develop persistence. You see, naturally, children are very persistent creatures. When they're hungry, they cry until they get the food. When they're children, they cry until they get what they want. Like, if you really observe them, they're very persistent. So everyone started out more persistent. The reason why you're not as persistent is because of fear, right? Children are persistent, but it gets lost. People surrender too soon and surrender in their minds long after they outwardly surrender, right? If you notice, before you quit something, you've quit months ago, prior to it. Before people break up, they broke up with the person a few months ago before they actually break up. If the way it works is that it first starts as a seed of doubt. In order to continually grow, you must put yourself in a state of frustration and attack your frustration with deliberate practice. That's how you overcome this, right? But sometimes when people quit a skill, when people quit this or that, it always starts out with a seed of doubt. Eventually, after the months happen, it grows, and then they realize they want to quit. But the truth is, they quit months ago. Right? So what you want to be able to do is learn to overcome frustration. Learn to overcome the initial state of frustration when you first practice something, or even when you build up a business. The first few months are not going to be that, you're not going to have that much money in any restaurant. And even the meditation retreat, the meditation meetups, the first few meetups, not a lot of people go, but it builds up. And if you're persistent enough, it'll grow to a big group. But it takes persistence, and people quit too soon before they should quit, right? So when you're first building up a group, when you're first doing anything, you want to develop persistence, because initially you're going to be frustrated, and that's normal, because frustration is a sign that your brain is processing complexity. The first initial struggle in any project, like for example, like a job, or even when you build up a meditation group, for example, or even a photography group, the reason why there's not that many people at first is because that's just how everything is. And also, you got to learn, while you're having those meetups, you got to observe what works and what doesn't work. When are people having fun, and when they're not having fun. In other words, the initial struggle of anything is just you making new connections, seeing what works and what doesn't. If this phase doesn't happen, what you build is not going to reflect what people like. They're not going to like it. So the first stages, the awkwardness where there's only one person goes to your party. My first workshop, my first seminar, only one person came, and I learned from that. But it's like a lot of people just don't want to deal with the initial of, like, if you throw a party, you'll notice that you have the first hour of the party is the scariest, because that's not a lot of people are there. But then after like the second or third hour, all of a sudden people start coming. But if you came in the first in the middle of the party, you would never guess how empty it was. A lot of people don't want to deal with that because it's an uncomfortable feeling, and so they lose that persistence and that perseverance and quit too soon. Like, you take things to the fullest, take it as far as you can. Don't quit too soon. You know, and you'll notice that everything in life has those first initial shitty moments. Even with kids, any parents that's enjoying their adult children know that they had to go through the stages of them being infants and shitting, and you got to clean them. Like, that's the equivalent of everything in life. And imagine if parents were like, fuck this kid, I'm giving this kid up. Like, no, you got to have persistence. right? Once you overcome this frustration, it'll be rewarded with the feeling of overcoming an obstacle. But you must give yourself time and continue to practice what you resist. Go towards the opposite of your comfort zone. Like if you're afraid of throwing a party, throw a party, man. If you're afraid of having a meetup, have a meetup. Get outside of your comfort zone, man. You can't just be doing the same thing every day. You're too much comfort. And this makes the outside world, it's like being in your covers, right? It's cold outside, but if you keep staying under your covers, outside is gonna feel colder. But once you take your covers out in the morning, you'll notice it's cold. But then if you keep allowing yourself to feel that cold, it'll actually get warmer and you acclimate to it. It's the same thing with these frustrations and fear, right? Your brain is gonna reward you overcoming obstacles. You're gonna find pleasure in overcoming frustrations. Now, pain and frustration and failure is not associated with failure. It's associated with the initial and prerequisite stages to success. Go towards the opposite of your comfort zone. It's just that simple, people. You think it's fun having these meditation meetups? Sometimes I get nervous. Every time I do it, I get nervous. I just know how to deal with the nervousness. Nothing can withstand the persistence of human will. Let me tell you something, man. Nothing can resist human will. If you keep trying something, it's gonna succeed eventually. If you keep learning from your mistakes and observing what works, you're bound to be successful in anything that you do. I have no doubt in my mind. It just takes persistence. Persistence, persistence, persistence. Plain and simple. It is the persistence that the Buddha became enlightened. The Buddha said, I'm not going to get up until I become enlightened. Think about that. Think about that. It was that persistent. I am not going to get up until I become enlightened. Jesus went to the desert and said, I'm not going to eat for 40 days and 40 nights. And Satan was trying to tempt him. And his persistence allowed him to rebuke Satan and allowed him to withstand the 40-day and 40-night fasting. Persistence is what allows that. It is through persistence that I became a YouTuber. I tried out multiple different channels. I kept hitting that tree and that tree fell. It is through persistence. Learning from your mistakes. Persistence is the only thing that will get you enlightenment. Right? I remember when I took DMT, I was in the spirit entity. One of the spirit entities was showing me Leonardo da Vinci. And I asked him, why is Leonardo da Vinci so great? Why was he so good at what he did? And the spirits told me this. It's because he wanted it more. Think about it. The reason why he was such a genius, the reason why he knew so many things, why he was such an amazing painter, why he was such an amazing artist, inventor, architect, musician. Yeah, he was a musician. The reason why is because he just wanted it more than everyone else, and that's what they told me. He just wanted it more. And Leonardo, one of his philosophy is ostinato rigori, which means diligent practice, just consistent practice. There is nothing that could withstand the human will. If you want something bad enough and you keep learning from your mistakes and you keep trying and you don't stop, you're bound to be successful. Bound to be successful. When Leonardo said ostinato rigori, ostinato denotes persistence, tenacity, stubbornness, while rigori signifies rigor or strict adherence to a high standard. When interpreted within the context of Leonardo's work and principle, ostinato rigori reflects his unwavering commitment to refining his artistic and scientific pursuit through relentless diligence and meticulous attention to detail. Leonardo da Vinci's model embodies the idea of maintaining an unyielding pursuit of excellence, continuously challenging oneself, and embodying an unyielding pursuit of excellence. No, an unsatiable curiosity for exploration and discovery. This steadfast approach to his work allowed Leonardo to create enduring masterpieces and make groundbreaking contributions across diverse fields, ranging from art, anatomy, engineering, and natural philosophy. And even the Japanese have this where they try to increase, I forgot what to call, but they get better, 1% better every day. 1% better. This not resistance, this persistence to make it happen is really the key. Like I want it, like a crackhead wanting crack. You just want something. It's why crackheads don't have money for anything but crack. How do they have money for that all the time? Because they really want it. And the way to increase what you want is to see it in your mind with clarity, and with a clear, vivid mind. See it in clear and in vivid detail. It'll increase your desire by seeing things clearly in your mind. Other ways to increase this aggressive energy is to attack your weaknesses. Find out what are the things that you have to improve. This is why people who overcame drug addictions, who overcame like a lot of issues, a lot of them are very successful. Because, for example, me, the reason why all these videos are here is because I have a lot of fucked up things in my head. Or I had. I had an addictive personality. I couldn't focus for more than 5 minutes. I had no impulse control. And because of that realization of how weak I was mentally, it gave me an internal enemy. And so I became obsessed with improving on my weaknesses. I became so obsessed that I started going to meditation retreats. For years, I would go to 4 or 5 days meditation retreats. And then I noticed I needed to change bigger things. So then I started going to 10-day silent meditation retreats just to fix one little part of my life. That's persistence. And this energy that I have to be able to do those meditation retreats only came about because I saw my weaknesses and I became desperate to overcome them. So know your reality. Know how broke you are. Know how weak you are. Know how much you need to grow. Test your health. See what you need to improve on in your health. All of those things are things that we try to not think about, like thinking about how broke you are, or even having a health exam because you're afraid what's going to come out. That's timidity. That's you being timid. That's you being shy of reality. You could turn that timidity into aggression by realizing what you need to fix, making a plan to fix it, and taking action and seeing whether or not this plan works. You literally change your timidity, your denial of it, into aggressive energy. It's like when I found out that I was broke, right? That I didn't pay my taxes correctly. I started working like a motherfucker when I realized that. That was a couple of years ago, but that's what happened. I realized I really fucked up. I forgot to pay taxes. I was so stupid. But when I realized how much shit I was in, I developed an aggressive energy to fix it. So this is why it helps to actually have actual problems, have an understanding of your life situation, an understanding of your weaknesses and your strengths, and an understanding of the connections between your weaknesses and the negative things in your life that's going on. When you understand why you keep being late on your bills, why your relationships keep failing a certain way, why people keep taking advantage of you, and you identify the weakness, what you want to do is turn that energy, all of your aggressive energy, towards that one thing and fix it and focus on fixing it. For example, like I said, my biggest issue when I was younger was focusing and concentrating and patience. So what did I do? I figured out that I really have a problem with it. I noticed that people who are impatient have a underdeveloped frontal cortex and too much an overactive amygdala. And what was the best thing for that? Meditation. Not only did I meditate, I started going to retreats 4, 5, 6 day retreats. And then when I realized that I started partying too much, people, and I started doing drugs that you shouldn't do. Molly, to be very transparent with you guys, I realized I had a problem, and I realized I needed a solution that's above and beyond anything that I've ever tried. And that's when I started doing the 10-day silent retreat. And now my issue was solved, but now I do the 10-day silent retreat three times a year, right? Notice how this aggressive energy, or even the addiction is an aggressive energy. I redirected it towards meditation by understanding that I need to fix my life, right? And this aggressive energy now is still there, but now the aggressive energy is towards becoming enlightened is really the goal, to be honest with you, with anyone who meditates, right? But that energy now is used to improve myself, where that energy before was destroying me. But the only way that I turned it around was to recognize my weaknesses, recognize what were the true causes of my mistakes. So you got to know yourself, attack your weaknesses. It'll bring up energy. And sometimes your weakness is the fact that you don't set high enough goals, that you are afraid to speak up. Attack them. Find what you're weak at and attack it. Read books on that. If you don't know how to attack it, read a book on that. Honestly, stop just standing around and expecting things to happen. Attack those weaknesses with tenacity and strength, right? And even if you fail, embrace the failure. Don't be discouraged from setbacks. Learn to keep the aggressive energy when you are under failure. Test it out. Attack it, right? Don't stop moving. Keep moving. Aggressive energy will always, while remaining conscious and learning from your mistakes, that aggressive energy, concentrated energy, with all of your emotions towards one thing, you're bound to be successful. This will transform you, man. If you do this, you're going to radiate confidence, radiate the type of person, the type of energy that makes people want to work with you, that makes people want to hire you. I just gave you all the things you need to know to harness this aggressive energy and to let go of your timidity. Please let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know in the WhatsApp group that I made for you guys. Let me know what you guys think of it, and if you guys have any questions, okay? And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.